Thank you for joining me again on my YouTube channel. As I told you before, this was like a series I was going to be doing. I stepped off for a little bit, but I'm back. And where we had left off at, we're going to dismiss with the chatter. But where we left off at is that I was trying to show you pretty much like how to manipulate the drawbars. I've seen a lot of musicians, especially young musicians, where it seems as though they're still trying to figure out how the drawbars work. And like I told you before, this is primarily like for beginners. So I'm just going to show you pretty much, we're just going to go over again the drawbars, how they make up the sounds, okay? So we're going to go to the manuals, and we're going to go to the upper drawbars here. And this is where we're going to start from. So just to give you an idea of all of the different sounds, here is a sound when you just have just the brown drawbars pulled out. Now when you pull out the second brown drawbar, this is what you'll get, and I hope you can see it in the tutorial. Now we go to the third, which is the white, and we pull that out to maybe like about a 7 or an 8. Now we pull out the fourth, which is the second white. And so on. Now that's a pattern that you would normally use for when maybe you're playing something like a little jazzier, but let me show you how you would pretty much manipulate the drawbars in a regular setting, church setting. Here is a very familiar one, and if you can blow it up for me just a little bit, this is where most musicians will be for maybe like something for the offering. When you want more power, softer. Okay, now let me show you one by one. So it's pretty much based on the type of music that you're playing, whether it be maybe something like traditional old-time gospel, or if you want something a little bit more hard, maybe like the shouting music. When it comes down to like the shouting music, this is what a lot of musicians will do. Now, usually when some musicians start out with the preacher, when it comes down to the trying to follow the preacher, the preacher would usually start off kind of easy. Then when the preacher begins to get into their sermon, they would hold that root note where the preacher is, and then that would sound something like this. Okay, so I just showed you pretty much how to manipulate the drawbars, but it depends on sometimes like the song, as I mentioned earlier in this video. Now, whenever you manipulate the drawbars, when you use the drawbars and you use them correctly, you can do different things. Soft music, like talk music, like if the pastor is speaking. Or if there's the offering. Now let me just show you one other thing. Most churches, some have a full set of musicians. They have you have your organist, of course. You have your keyboard player, bass player. You have your drummer. Some churches have a brass section. But in the event, if you don't have a bass player, one of the things that I notice is that a lot of organists, they will use the upper drawbars for their bass. Okay. And this is a very familiar pattern, if you can see it in the camera, that most organists will use. They will use a pattern like that, which will give you a much lighter bass. Some would even go lighter than that. And some are just downright nice and heavy. Some musicians do like a nice fat bottom. So let me show you how that would work. Now lighter. Heavier. So I hope that this tutorial would help someone, those of you that are just starting out learning how to play the Hammond organ as far as the drawbars are concerned. This last pattern here is a very familiar one that I see a lot of organists use. So that's a pattern that you probably can use. I think it goes all the way, pulls all the way out to 8. 8. This is a 5. This is a 3. This is a 4. 2, 2, and a full 8 out again. All right. So on our next one, we'll come back with that. So our next tutorial will be to find out what are these two drawbars about. What's going on with these two drawbars? This is the bass pedals, and that'll be in our next tutorial. So I hope you stop by again. I hope to have some more material for you as far as trying to learn the different parts of the Hammond organ, what they do, and just tune in again next time. So thank you for tuning in to See You in Church. Bye now.